You see it on the shelf at the dollar store. A small amber bottle, $3, maybe less. Castor oil, the same stuff your grandmother kept on the top shelf of the pantry. The same stuff the consumer products industry quietly walked away from in 1962. They almost succeeded in burying it. You walked past it 100 times. You had no idea what you were walking past. A man named Eli Stoltzfus, 73 years old blacksmith outside of Intercourse, Pennsylvania, showed me what was in his pantry. One amber bottle, $3. And that bottle was doing the work of 15 products you buy every month at the hardware store and the drugstore. Here is what nobody at the hardware store wants you to know. The Amish use one bottle of castor oil to replace 15 products you are buying every month. Squeaking hinges, aching knees, cracked leather boots, peeling window frames, rusting tools, hair that is falling out, skin that will not stop cracking. The bill for all of that, every year, comes to $420 at the average American hardware store. The cost of one bottle of castor oil is less than the change in your pocket. I want you to stick with me until the very end, because there is one technique I found buried inside a 1,955 USDA bulletin from the Western Regional Research Center in Albany, California. The Amish in Lancaster County have been quietly doing it for over 100 years. It costs 3 cents per application. It saved one family I know about $1,100 in a single winter. And it works in any house you already own, no matter how old, no matter how the wiring runs, no matter what your foundation looks like. The first time I walked into an Amish farmhouse outside of Berlin, Ohio, I spent the first 10 minutes looking for the smell. You know that smell every old American house has? The faint chemical scent of furniture polish, the bug spray, the dryer sheets clinging to the walls. It was not there. I asked the grandmother of that house what she spent every year on cleaners, lubricants, and skin creams. She looked at me like I was speaking Chinese. She said one word, nothing. And by the time I left that afternoon, I understood that almost everything I had been buying at the hardware store and the drugstore for 40 years was a solution to a problem these people had quietly solved with a $3 bottle. Let me start with the hinge. Every door in your house has a hinge. Every cabinet, every gate, every toolbox. Every one of those hinges is slowly drying out, slowly corroding, slowly squealing its way toward failure. The average American homeowner buys a can of penetrating spray lubricant every 18 months. That spray is mostly mineral spirits and propellant. It evaporates, it dries, it actually attracts dust, which becomes grit, which grinds the hinge faster. You are paying to accelerate the wear on the thing you are trying to protect. The Amish do not do this. They take a clean rag, they put 2 drops of castor oil on it, and they wipe the hinge pin once a season. That is it. Castor oil is what chemists call a high viscosity, non-drying oil. It does not evaporate. It does not gum up. It clings to metal at the molecular level because of something called ricinoleic acid, which is a fatty acid with a hydroxyl group that bonds to iron and steel surfaces. The USDA confirmed this property in research conducted at the Albany Regional Center, where Thomas McKeon spent years studying why castor oil makes such a superior industrial lubricant. The worldwide market for castor oil as a heavy-duty lubricant is over $400 million a year. Aircraft engines used to run on it. Race car engines still do. You have it on your hinges for 3 cents per door. That single hack will save you $40 a year on sprays you never needed. But hinges are just the beginning. Move into the kitchen, look at your cutting board, look at your wooden spoons, look at the handle of your good knife. Every one of those wooden surfaces is slowly cracking because the wood is losing its natural moisture. The store sells you mineral oil to fix this. Mineral oil is a petroleum byproduct. It works, sort of, for a few weeks. Then it evaporates, the wood dries again, and you buy another bottle. The Amish woman who showed me her kitchen had cutting boards her grandmother had used. The wood was darker than mine, tighter grain, no cracks. She rubbed them down with castor oil twice a year. The ricinoleic acid penetrates deep into the wood fiber and stays there. It does not go rancid like olive oil. It does not evaporate like mineral oil. It does not turn sticky like linseed oil. A bottle the size of your thumb treats every wooden surface in your kitchen for 2 years. Now think about your leather, the boots in the closet, the work gloves in the garage, the belt your father gave you that you cannot wear anymore because the leather cracked along the buckle line. American men spend over $200 a year on leather conditioners, mink oil, neat's foot oil, beeswax, pastes. The Amish use one product, castor oil. A thin coat, rubbed in with the heel of the hand, left to absorb overnight. The leather drinks it, becomes supple again, sheds water, resists cracking for years. You can take a 40-year-old work boot that feels like cardboard and bring it back to life in a single weekend. I want you to remember that bottle costs $3. We are not done with what it does. We have not even scratched the surface. Because somewhere around 1960, someone in a corporate office in New York or New Jersey realized that castor oil was eating into the profit margins of about 15 different consumer product categories. And that is when things began to change. In 1958, a study was quietly conducted at a textile mill in Reading, Pennsylvania, where workers were having problems with the heavy industrial sewing machines seizing up in the cold months. The mill foreman, a man named Harlan Beachy, who had been raised Old Order Mennonite before leaving the community, suggested they try castor oil on the moving parts instead of the petroleum-based lubricant the manufacturer recommended. The mill owner thought he was crazy. But they were losing 2 days of production a week to machine failures, so he agreed to test it on 6 machines. Within 3 weeks, those 6 machines were running smoother than the other 40 in the building. Within 3 months, every machine in the mill had been switched over. The records of that conversion still exist in the Historical Society in Berks County. I have seen them. The manufacturer of those sewing machines, when they found out, sent a representative to investigate, and that representative wrote a memo back to corporate headquarters saying, and I am quoting directly here, "The substitute lubricant appears to outperform our recommended product in cold weather applications by a significant margin." That memo was filed away. Nothing was done with it. The company continued selling the same lubricant for another 30 years. Because castor oil could not be patented. It grew out of the ground. You could not put a trademark on a bean. And so the better product, the one that worked, was suppressed not by some grand conspiracy, but by the simple economic reality that nobody could make money telling you about it. That is the pattern. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You will not find this in any history textbook, but if you start pulling old advertisements from the late 1950s and early 1960s, you will see something strange. Castor oil disappears. It just goes away. The same stuff that was in every American medicine cabinet from 1900 through the Eisenhower administration suddenly becomes a punchline, a bad memory, the thing your grandmother forced you to swallow. And in its place, on the shelves, appear dozens of new products, specialized products, branded products, each one solving exactly one of the problems that castor oil used to solve for pennies. Now, I am not the kind of man who goes hunting for conspiracies under every rock, but I will tell you what I found in the research. In 1961, the official approved use of castor oil was narrowed to a single category, stimulant laxative. That was it. Every other use was quietly stripped from the official labeling. You could still buy it, you could still use it, but the moment a company tried to advertise it for anything else, they got a letter from a regulator. So the company stopped, the advertising stopped. The shelf space shrank, and an entire generation of Americans, my generation, grew up not knowing that the bottle on the top shelf of Grandma's pantry could replace half the stuff under the kitchen sink. But the Amish never read American labels, they never watched American television commercials, they never got the memo that castor oil was supposed to be embarrassing, they kept using it, they kept passing the knowledge down. And that is why, when you walk into a farmhouse in Holmes County today, you find a single amber bottle doing the work of 15 products you have been buying for 40 years. Let me give you the next set of applications. Your scalp. The Amish men I met, men in their 70s and 80s, had full heads of hair. Not thick necessarily, but present. Mine is not. I asked one of them about it. He laughed and said his mother rubbed castor oil into his scalp every Sunday night from the time he could walk. The science is real. Ricinoleic acid is a vasodilator. It increases blood flow to the scalp follicles. A 2015 review in the International Journal of Trichology noted improved hair luster and reduced breakage in subjects who applied castor oil weekly. You will not see a commercial for this on television because castor oil is not patentable. Nobody can own it, so nobody pays to advertise it. Same goes for your eyebrows, same goes for your eyelashes, same goes for your beard, if you keep one. A drop on a clean fingertip, worked into the base of the hair, 3 nights a week, that is it. The fancy serums on the counter at the drugstore, $28 an ounce. They contain castor oil as the primary active ingredient. They charge you a markup of about 9,000%. Now I want you to think about your skin, the dry patches on your hands in winter, the cracked heels, the chapped lips, the rough spot on your elbows that has been there for years. The cosmetics industry sells you about 40 different products to deal with these things. Castor oil handles all of them. The ricinoleic acid is an emollient and a humectant, which means it both seals moisture in and pulls moisture from the air. A pea-sized dollop, worked into cracked heels at night, with a cotton sock pulled over the top, will repair skin that creams have not touched in 5 years. I watched an Amish grandmother in her 80s pull off her shoes and stockings at the end of a long day. Her feet looked younger than mine. I asked her what she did. She said one word, castor. And if you do not believe me, try this. I tested castor oil on a sunburn. I got fishing in July of 2021. One shoulder I treated with the drugstore aloe. The other shoulder I treated with castor oil, mixed half and half with cool water, applied with a soft cloth, 3 times across the afternoon. The castor oil shoulder was completely normal in 3 days. The aloe shoulder peeled for a week. Same sunburn, same person, same exposure, different shoulder, different outcome. The relief is immediate. The peeling, that normally comes 4 days later, does not come at all, or comes so mildly you barely notice it. Your great-grandmother knew this. The pharmacy does not want you to know it. Now here is where the story takes a turn that I think matters most for you and me. Because we are not Amish. We did not grow up with this knowledge. We grew up with a medicine cabinet full of single-purpose products. And by the time we figured out something was wrong, we already owned the house, the furniture, the tools, the cars, the bills that come with all of it. So I want you to stay with me through this next part, because if you already own a house and you are thinking this only applies to people who started from scratch, hear me out. This part is specifically for you. Walk into any American house built before 1980. Walk into the basement. Look at the windows. The frames are wood. They are dry. The paint is peeling. The seal between the frame and the wall has cracked. Cold air is leaking in. Heat is leaking out. Your power company loves this. Your power company gets richer every winter because of those windows. The average American homeowner loses between 12 and 18% of their heating dollars to old window frames and casing. That is real money. In a cold winter, that can be $600 or $700 walking out of your house through the cracks. Here is what the Amish do. Once every 2 years, in October before the first hard freeze, they take castor oil and they wipe down every wooden window frame, every wooden door frame, every wooden sash and casing in the house. They rub it in until the wood will not take any more. The oil penetrates deep into the wood, swells the fibers slightly, and seals the surface against moisture absorption. The wood stops shrinking and expanding with the seasons. The cracks close up. The paint stops peeling. The seal between the frame and the wall stays tight. A pint of castor oil costs about $9 at most grocery stores. A pint will do every wooden frame in a 3-bedroom house with oil left over. $9 to seal your house against winter drafts. Compare that to the $50 per window the energy company wants to charge you to come out and assess your home for an upgrade you cannot afford. So before I give you the last and oldest piece of this, the one buried inside a 1,955 USDA bulletin from the Western Regional Research Center in Albany, California, here is where everything lives. Every remedy, every recipe, every method I have pulled out of these communities is gathered in one place. In the description below, it is called the Amish Home System. Now stay right here, because what comes next is the reason I built this entire video around. But it goes further. Take that same bottle into the kitchen. Look at your kitchen cabinets. The bottoms of the doors where they hit the frame are rubbing. The hinges are squeaking. The finish is wearing thin. A thin coat of castor oil rubbed into the wood with a soft cloth, working with the grain, will restore the finish, lubricate the friction points, and protect the surface from kitchen grease and steam. The Amish kitchens I sat in had cabinets 50 years old that looked 20. Mine were 10 years old and looked 30. Same wood, different maintenance. Now your floors. If you have hardwood floors, even old worn ones, you can bring them back. Not refinish, restore. The Amish way is a soft cloth, a teaspoon of castor oil, rubbed in small circles into worn areas, the high traffic spot in front of the kitchen sink, the path from the hallway to the living room, the patch where the dog likes to lie. The oil penetrates the wood, restores the color depth, and seals the surface against further wear. You will pay a contractor between $4,000 and $6,000 to sand and refinish a hardwood floor in your house. You will pay $3 for a bottle of castor oil and one Saturday afternoon to restore the worst spots. I have a neighbor who tried it on the threshold between his kitchen and dining room. The wood had gone gray, wear had cut a depression into the surface. He thought he was going to have to replace the board. 2 applications of castor oil, 3 weeks apart, and the wood came back. The gray turned back to honey. The depression filled in slightly because the wood fibers swelled. He did not have to replace anything. The same approach works on your dining room table, your dresser, your wooden chairs, the leather seat of your favorite chair, the handle of your good axe out in the shed, the grip of your fishing rod, any wooden tool handle on the place, anywhere wood meets weather or wood meets time. 1 bottle, $3. Now I want you to think about your tools. Every American man over 50 has a toolbox in the garage that contains at least one rusted tool. A wrench, a pair of pliers, a screwdriver shaft. The rust starts small, a little orange bloom on the metal, then it spreads. Eventually the tool is unusable. The Amish solution is to wipe every metal tool down with a castor oil rag once a year. The oil leaves an invisible film on the metal that prevents oxygen from reaching the iron. No oxygen means no rust. A rag with 2 tablespoons of castor oil on it will treat every metal tool in your shop and last you the whole season. This is also the secret to keeping your good kitchen knives sharp. You do not oil the blade with cooking oil. Cooking oil goes rancid. Cooking oil attracts mold. You wipe the blade with the smallest dab of castor oil after you wash and dry it. The blade stays bright, the edge stays keen, the wood handle stays sealed. One application lasts months. There is something almost embarrassing about how simple this is. We have been sold a lie about how complicated our lives need to be, how many products we need to buy, how many specialists we need to call. The Amish were never sold that lie. They had no advertising department aimed at them, so they kept what worked. And what worked more than almost anything else in the house was a single bottle of pressed castor seed oil. Now I want to talk about your body. Start with your joints. If you are over 55, you have at least one joint that aches. Knee, shoulder, hip, lower back. The pharmacy sells you ointments and creams, capsaicin, menthol, lidocaine. They tingle, they burn, they give you the sensation that something is happening. The relief lasts about 20 minutes. The tube costs $15. You buy a new one every 2 weeks. The Amish make a castor oil pack. This is one of the oldest applications, and it goes back, in some form, to ancient Egypt. The Ebers Papyrus, dated to around 1550 BC, references the use of castor oil for joint inflammation. The Amish version is simple. You take a piece of flannel about the size of your palm, you soak it in castor oil, you lay it over the aching joint, you cover it with a piece of plastic, you put a hot water bottle on top, you leave it for 30 to 45 minutes. The heat drives the oil into the tissue. The ricinoleic acid acts as a natural anti-inflammatory. There are several recent studies, including a 2011 paper in the Journal of Naturopathic Medicine, confirming the anti-inflammatory effects of topical castor oil application. The relief from a single pack can last 2 to 3 days. The flannel can be reused dozens of times. The oil costs pennies per application. I started using these on my left knee about 3 years ago. The orthopedist had told me I was looking at a partial replacement within 5 years. I have not been back. The knee is not perfect, but it is functional. And I am not paying $28,000 for a surgical procedure. Same goes for your gut. If you are dealing with sluggish digestion, the kind that comes with age in a Western diet, a castor oil pack across the abdomen at night, twice a week, can do what fiber supplements have not done. The pack stimulates lymphatic drainage, it is gentle, It does not produce the cramping or dependency that comes with internal use of castor oil as a laxative. The University of Texas MD Anderson confirms that ricinoleic acid stimulates the gastrointestinal nerves. The Amish discovered this without studies. They just knew. And remember Eli Stoltzfus, the blacksmith, from the beginning of this video. 73 years old. His hands look like they belong to a man 20 years younger. No age spots, no thin papery skin, no swollen knuckles. I asked him directly what he did, expecting a long list. He gave me one sentence. Every night for 51 years, before bed, he rubs a single drop of castor oil into the back of each hand and works it up to the wrist. That is it. One drop. 51 years. And the dermatologist who examined his hands at a community health screening in 2019 wrote in her notes that his skin elasticity tested in the range of a man in his early 50s. She asked him what moisturizer he used. He told her. She wrote it down. She did not believe him. Now here is the secret I promised you at the start, the one I found buried in the 1955 USDA bulletin from the Western Regional Research Center in Albany. Most Americans, when they think about insulation, think about pink fiberglass bats or blown-in cellulose. Expensive, disruptive to install, requires a contractor for any space larger than a closet. Most homes built before 1980 are under-insulated, and the cost to bring them up to modern standards can run between $8,000 and $15,000. The Amish in Lancaster County never had that budget. They also never had the building inspectors. What they had was castor oil and brown paper. Here is the technique, exactly as I learned it from an older Amish carpenter in Strasburg, Pennsylvania, and exactly as the USDA bulletin described it under the heading of Agricultural Building Improvements. You take heavy brown craft paper, the kind you wrap parcels in. You can buy a roll of it at any hardware store for about $12. You cut it into manageable sheets. You take a soft brush, the kind you would use for varnish, and you brush castor oil onto one side of each sheet. You let it absorb for about 20 minutes. Then you brush a second coat. The paper turns from light tan to a deep amber color. It becomes flexible but tough. It feels almost like thin leather. That paper, once treated, is an extraordinary vapor barrier. The castor oil seals the fibers against moisture penetration but allows the paper to remain flexible and breathable in just the right way. Pre-1955 research at the USDA Western Regional Research Center documented that castor oil-treated paper showed a moisture transmission rate roughly 70% lower than untreated craft paper, while remaining far more resistant to cracking than wax-treated paper. The Amish use this treated paper in 3 specific places in an existing home, and this is the part I want you to write down. First, in the attic. They lay sheets of treated paper directly over the existing insulation, or directly on top of the ceiling joists if there is no insulation. The treated paper stops the warm, moist air from your living space from rising into the attic and condensing on the cold roof sheathing. That moisture is what rots out the framing of pre-1980 houses. One man in Holmes County who started doing this in his attic told me his heating bill dropped by about 22% in the first winter. He spent $40 total, on paper and oil. Second, behind baseboards on exterior walls. You pry the baseboard off carefully. You slip a sheet of treated paper between the wall and the baseboard. You nail the baseboard back. That single strip seals the bottom edge of every exterior wall in your house, which is where most of the cold air infiltration happens. The baseboard hides it completely. No contractor, no permit, no mess. Third, inside cabinets along exterior walls. The cabinet that backs up to the outside of your house is one of the coldest spots in your kitchen in winter. A sheet of treated paper tacked to the back wall of that cabinet stops the cold from radiating into your kitchen. It also stops mice. Mice will not chew through castor oil treated paper. The taste and the smell repels them. That family I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the one that saved $1,100 in a single winter, they did all 3 of these in October before the first freeze. They used about 2 pints of castor oil and 1 roll of craft paper. The total cost was $34. The total winter savings against their previous year's heating bill was $1,117. That is real money. That is buried American knowledge from a 1,000 955 government document that almost nobody has read. And I will tell you something else. When the USDA published that bulletin, it was distributed to county extension agents across the country. By 1965, the bulletin was no longer in circulation. By 1972, the section on castor oil treated paper had been removed from the updated agricultural building manual. The knowledge did not die, it just stopped being shared. The Amish, who never relied on county extension agents in the first place, kept doing it, they are still doing it, and now you know how. I want to give you one more before we close, and this one is for the gardeners. If you have a problem with moles tearing up your yard, and you have spent money on those vibrating stakes and the ultrasonic devices and the pellets you sprinkle in the holes, listen to this. An Amish farmer named Amos Lapp gave me this recipe in 2017. 2 tablespoons of castor oil, 1 tablespoon of dish soap, 1 gallon of water, shake it in a garden sprayer. Spray it on the affected area of your lawn after a rain when the ground is soft. The moles will be gone in 72 hours. They will not die, they will simply leave. Because castor oil coats their food source, the earthworms, and gives them an unpleasant taste, and the moles relocate. It is humane, it is cheap, it works on voles too. And it costs about 40 cents per application compared to the $70 electronic stake that does not work at all. There are entire suburban neighborhoods in Ohio where people have been paying landscape companies hundreds of dollars a year to deal with moles, and the answer was sitting in their grandmother's pantry the whole time. $3 for a bottle, $12 for a roll of paper, one Saturday afternoon, a house that holds heat through the worst winter the weather can throw at you, a toolbox that does not rust, a floor that comes back to life, boots that last another decade, hinges that stop squealing, skin that stops cracking, joints that stop aching, a grocery bill, a hardware bill, a drugstore bill, and an energy bill that all go down at the same time. This is what was taken from us. Not by accident, not by progress, by people who needed us to keep buying their replacement products every 2 weeks, every 6 months, every 2 years. The Amish kept the knowledge alive because they were not listening to the radio commercials and they were not watching the television advertisements. They were watching their grandmothers and their grandfathers. They were watching what worked. If you are the kind of man who believes that real knowledge has been quietly pushed aside to protect somebody else's profit, you already know what to do next. Go pick up a bottle of cold-pressed castor oil. Hexane-free if you can find it. Then come back here and tell me in the comments which one of these 25 hacks you are going to try first. I want to know if it is the door hinges, the wooden cabinets, the cracked heels, the aching knee, the treated paper in the attic. Tell me which one. And tell me what you have been paying for all these years that you will not be paying for anymore. If you found something here that nobody else has told you about and you want to keep recovering knowledge that has been quietly buried, you should join the rest of us. There are more of us than you think. People who refuse to keep paying for things their grandparents got for free. People who still believe a man's house should belong to him, not to the company sending him the monthly bill. Hit subscribe. Stay with me. The next video I am working on covers something the Amish do with simple white vinegar that eliminates an entire category of expense most American homeowners do not even realize they are paying. There is one specific application using vinegar and a cast iron pot that saved a Lancaster County family over $400 last year on a single repair they did not have to call anyone for. I will see you in that one. Until then, remember, the amber bottle on the shelf at the dollar store, $3. The same bottle your grandmother kept on the top shelf of the pantry. The same bottle the consumer products industry quietly walked away from in 1962. It is still there, it has been waiting, and now, finally, you know what to do with it. Take what is useful. Try one thing this week, then try another next week. And in 6 months, look at your monthly expenses, your medicine cabinet, your garage shelf, and see what has changed. I think you will be surprised. I think you will be a little bit angry too at how long this knowledge was kept from you. But mostly I think you will feel something your grandparents felt every single day of their lives and that most of us have forgotten what it even feels like. Self-reliance. The quiet confidence of a person who knows how to take care of his own house, his own family, his own body without asking permission from anyone.